Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and on X, this is one of the major issues that I think is going viral, and basically, Japan have announced the Prime Minister has said that if China decided to blockade Taiwan, uh, not even invasion, just basically naval blockade to basically choke Taiwan, Japan will see it as an existential crisis, which means that Japan will be forced into war. So Japan basically has committed that if there is a naval blockade on Taiwan, Japan will go to war to uh, to save Taiwan, basically, because of how they perceive the geopolitical situation, or the geostrategic situation, where if Taiwan fall, Japan will be on the chopping board. It does not necessarily mean that China will invade Japan after conquering Taiwan, but the fact that the assessment is probably that if China takes Taiwan, then Japan will be subjugated, and for Japan there is a existential crisis. So, and no, I give you a rundown, and tell you, how, as that, for example, China ministry. So this is the short version. They say that if Japan intervenes militarily, then China will strike back decisively, and if Japan play with fire on the Taiwan issue, then basically they will perish by fire. This is the sort of threat that is exactly why Japan thinks that is existential, because China has announced that they are willing to wipe out Japan, essentially. They have it's like, they basically say it out. I know you may view this as, the Japan don't intervene, but the thing is that they basically gave a threat, and and the more this kind of wolf diplomacy, China called this the wolf diplomacy, the more countries will plan their foreign policies in ways to react to it, and they will always view China very suspiciously. And yeah, so basically I written that it doesn't really matter to what China threatens Japan with, because the reality is that Japan has basically assessed that their geopolitical situation, if Taiwan falls or getting threatened, basically I think is the fall. If Taiwan falls, Japan will be in the existential crisis. So as such, Japan is willing to die fighting China to prevent the fall of Taiwan. And this is now a effective situation that China must deal with. So the threat that China say that if you try to do anything militarily, you will perish by fire and destruction, will not change the reality that Japan will intervene, because when they say existential, which means that they are going to perish regardless. As long as Taiwan fall, their belief is that they will perish. So the only thing to do is to fight with Taiwan and probably with the United States, and that will ensure the maximum chance of winning, because you cannot let Taiwan fight alone, then Taiwan will lose. If Japan go in, they probably will still lose. But if Japan go in, United States will go in, and then there will be some kind of parity. I think that is the kind of situation that I think Japan is putting forth. And so this basically sends a message to China that if China try to militarily take Taiwan, then 100% they will be at war with Japan as well. So but this is actually good geopolitics. Because this is clarity in geopolitics. It is clarity that there will be no miscalculation. Japan tell China clearly that if you simply only do naval blockade, we don't even talk about invasion, simply naval blockade, then Japan will enter and intervene militarily, then 100% it will be at war. Then China will not miscalculate. They will now put this into their risk assessment. When they do war plans and they war game the whole situation, whether they can take Taiwan or not, or if they fight for Taiwan, then what are the threats that they need to deal with. They can now 100% put Japan into it. Previously, maybe they're not so sure. Because Japan's position is always very, very vague, because they are very defensive. They have policies that they cannot go overseas to fight war and everything. That they're always very nice. So now Japan put it really clearly. So this reduced miscalculation. Miscalculation is a big problem, because war goes badly when you miscalculate. And when you miscalculate, unnecessary wars happen. Ukraine war is a good example of miscalculation. They believe that Russia do not have the will to fight. Then they believe that they may not have the will to invade. They may not have the will to fight on. They miscalculated that the Russian economy will collapse. They miscalculated that their sanctions is more powerful than what it actually is. They miscalculate that they are able to use the sanctions and the cutting off of buying of the oil and gas, not 100% cutting, but just major reduction, will force Russia into their knees, and they will withdraw from Ukraine or some sort of things. These are all miscalculations. And they also miscalculated that the Ukraine with NATO help and NATO equipment will be able to turn the tide of war. They miscalculated that the doctrines and the training and the weaponry is insufficient to turn back the tide of war against Russia. All these miscalculations means that someone has to lose a lot. And in Ukraine, worst case is Ukraine. So this is good diplomacy, even though you might not like it. I know a lot of you guys may support China or anti-West, but this is actually good diplomacy, because this actually makes sure that China don't miscalculate, because the biggest danger is China miscalculating, decided to go for Taiwan, and they actually may not necessarily be ready to take Taiwan, but they thought that they can, and then they tried, and then they failed. Which is why, when the Ukraine war started, I was actually supporting Ukraine. I did not want Russia to have a quick win, because if Russia have a quick win over Ukraine, that might give China the wrong ideas. Then of course, why after that I can't stand Ukraine is already history. I mentioned that before. Victims don't behave like victims, but this is very important. Then I came upon the full spokesman statement, and it's just a lot of things. I can just sum up. They are trying to guilt trip Japan into not intervening, because they know that it's a bad idea for China. It's a bad situation for China if Japan enters. It doesn't mean China will lose the war. The problem is, if Japan entered the war, then China's chance of swift victory will be even smaller. Swift victory over Taiwan is already super difficult. But if Japan intervened, then to actually even have a bridgehead, a proper beachhead in Taiwan will be under threat. Because they will not just be dealing with the Taiwanese Navy, they will be the Japanese Navy as well, and Japanese Air Force, and then the fight will be tough. Maybe China is going to win, but China is going to lose a lot as a result. And so this is not in favor of the Chinese. So they are doing their favorite thing to do. They try to guilt trip the Japanese. They do this all the time, every year. Every year they are guilt tripping the Japanese, to the point where I'm ethnically Chinese. So all Chinese people around the world will never ever forget of what the Japanese has done in China. This is real. Like, and I'm not even from China. No, I'm not Chinese. I'm Singaporean Chinese. But understanding the history, there is this disgust of Japan's actions in China and of course in Southeast Asia, because they also kill a lot of people in Singapore as well. They basically rounded up a lot of Singaporean Chinese, and they basically send them to the beach, tell them to dig a hole, shot them in the back of the head, and then bury them in the hole that they have dug it themselves. That happened in Singapore. So so there is there's no reality where the Chinese people, there's no longer anywhere, ethnically Chinese people will ever forget what the Japanese done. And the history of what the Japanese have done in China is horrific. But China do this every year. It's overkill. It's like they always try to guilt trip the Japanese to the point where it's like, to the Japanese, it's like, there's nothing they can do to apologize enough. There's nothing they can do to erase their history. Just like the Germans today, we are very paranoid about being associated with Hitler and the Nazi history. It's that kind of situation. So and the thing is, now they're weaponizing this. They try to guilt trip the Japanese. It's not going to work, because the Prime Minister has basically made it pretty clear, existential crisis. So so Japan will have to enter, and to be honest, the new Prime Minister of Japan, Sanae Takaichi, is not wrong. There is no possibility of Japan being able to have status quo as per what they have now if Taiwan falls. If Taiwan falls to China, that will also means that the geopolitical balance has already been broken. Maybe United States collapse, maybe they are going to civil war because of Trump's divisions and Democrat stupidity. It could be United States lost the war to save Taiwan, and then United States have this big massive political problem, mayhem because of the loss of the war against China, and then they withdraw from the Asia Pacific. Regardless what happens, as long as Taiwan falls, the region, the whole of East Asia and Southeast Asia will be China's dominion. And when it's China's dominion, and you see the way how they talk, they are willing, they are very aggressive in the way they talk. But they are China, they are a big country. This means that there will not be a status quo for Japan, which means Japan will be subjugated as a minor power by China, much like they are already subjugated by the United States, but at least they have freedom somewhat, But under China is a different thing, because China is a totally different beast, and the wolf diplomacy, as I mentioned, is not has not brought much trust, generally speaking. Of course, Trump is now being pretty aggressive as well, so no one have a good time now. So, but yeah, but that's this current situation here, and I just want to say, this is just the reality of what it is. So I just want to share this. For me, if China actually believe that Japan can be discouraged just by doing this, China can immediately try to blockade Taiwan tomorrow, and see whether the Japanese will be willing to perish defending Taiwan. The problem is China probably will not dare to do it, or they will not want to do it, because geopolitically it's a terrible calculation. Yeah, then they cannot test Japan's resolve. Then all these spokesmen's words will just be words. Like I say in the tweet, if you want to flex, otherwise it's just talking, just talk. So yeah, and a good example, of talking too much, or not talking too much, will be what Trump did with Iran. Imagine Trump did not strike Iran, but they just keep talking about it. Like, he just talked about it for years and years and never strike Iran. Then who would believe that Trump will ever strike Iran? Trump gave a warning, second warning, then the B-2 bombers went and then they just bombed the shit out of the place. They tell them to nego, don't nego. Suddenly, Israel, assassinates, negotiators from Hamas or negotiators from Iran, and like that is real threat, and threat have to be follow up, with action. You make a threat, the most you make a second threat again to make sure that they didn't hear wrongly, and then you'd act on it. So yeah, but yeah, the situation now is pretty bad, I would say, because this Japanese prime minister is actually Japan first. Like this is like the MAGA movement, but for Japan, the MAJA, make not that that's not MAJA, make Japan great again. So it's Magica, the Magica. So this prime minister is bad news for China. It's bad news because what China want will always be a weak Japan, especially if they can have a prime minister that can't do things, can't make good policies, can't deal with United States well, or keep screwing themselves up. Then China will have a lot more leeways. But I think this prime minister looks pretty effective, and quite capable. So I think this is a big headache. I can show you this picture. No, yeah. So I think China, because of this prime minister, is getting a bit more nervous. Not nervous as in they are scared. Nervous is that it's like they are not sure what to do next, in the sense. Not like they are scared. Nervous is like, sometimes we are nervy, like we can't sit still. I think that's what China is, because this change of prime minister and with this statement basically screw up China's plan. Whatever plan that China have actually planned regarding the dealing with United States, because they are now in a major geopolitical battle with United States, and the battle is being fought through the trade war for now. And then they probably have plans for Taiwan, or militarily take Taiwan. They have built special vessels for it. They have expanded the navy tremendously. They have did a lot of exercises. They have tried many of this this aerial and naval maneuvers to see does it work, as per how they plan. They try a lot of things. All these exercises that's the ships and the planes flying around Taiwan is not a joke. These are all rehearsals. They are basically testing out their war plans to see whether the timings, or the communication, does it work? Does it make sense? They will check the timing and whatnot. So these are not a joke. Military exercises are meant to fight war. We train on scenarios that we believe that most likely we'll fight in. So that's the same thing for China. China is basically doing all these exercises. They're preparing for eventual need to invade. They will have to invade. Then at least they have the war plans. But now with Japan in the picture, then things is going to be very different, because some of these flanking operations are moving north of Taiwan will not be able to work, because Japan Navy will be there, and the area campaign, all the Air Force, how they move, the air defense, maybe the air superiority fighters, where they be deployed, how they're going to defend their bombers, it's going to change. A lot of things are going to change, because now they have to put into consideration F-15s and the Japanese. Not even sure what, I can't remember what the Japanese F-16 called. They have their own, I think J1. So all these F-16s and F-15s are coming from Japan, and they have F-35 as well. Then they need to put into consideration the heli carrier that Japan have, which is basically an aircraft carrier which can carry F-35, where it will be deployed. Now they need to hunt and keep track of that carrier, because this carrier carrying F-35 will be a big problem. So a lot of consideration for Japan, for China. So, but like I said, it is good that Japan put it clear, so that China will not go into war over Taiwan miscalculating. So if they go to war, they better they better win. In that sense, if you go to war and then you lose, everybody lose. Like there's no winner, because in a war everybody loses. Taiwan will lose, at least 1 million people will have died, I guess. The China will probably lose another 1 million. Not just the soldiers, but probably do strategic bombings. Maybe some nuclear strikes. Who knows? Japan will also probably lose a lot of people as well. A lot of people is going to die over Taiwan if China decides to go to war. So it's a bad idea. I don't think Taiwan will ever declare independence. On their own. I think if they do that, no one can save them. Japan will not come, and then the United States will not come. No one in Southeast Asia will come. Taiwan can go and die themselves if they declare independence. So, and Taiwan knows that. So the only situation where the war will happen is China invading Taiwan, where they decided that okay, it's time. Be it whatever circumstances that they think. Maybe geopolitically, there's already no point to play this dance with the West. They decided to invade, maybe, or maybe Xi Jinping decided that he's too old. He really want to see this happen before he died. Because sometimes people in this kind of top leadership, become king or emperor, they have some grand dreams, and they will go for it. Like Putin, Putin going to Ukraine. Sometimes I feel like it's something to do with him trying to solve this problem about Ukraine, this Ukrainian problem. He's trying to solve it before he died, because Putin is old already, So Xi Jinping is just as old. So Xi Jinping have this grandeur dream about making China strong again. And honestly, like I said, it's an ethnic Chinese thing. Every Chinese around the world wants a strong China. Just happened that but we don't want it to be a communist China. So it's a very weird situation where because the history of China is always full of this kind of turmoil. So we always hope that China will be strong because we are all Chinese people, but then not the communist Chinese China. So it's a very weird situation where, because the communist China is very dangerous because it's communist, and I mean the experience with communists is not good, because almost every country in the region fought with communists. So yeah. But yeah, but then this is the reality, So yeah, so I know a lot of you guys will not agree, but but that's the reality of things. So the ball is in China's court. Whether the war will break out over Taiwan is really up to China. No one can make China invade Taiwan, except Taiwanese themselves. If they declare independence, they declare a republic of Taiwan, then the China will invade, and that's all their fault, and they can die, because no one will save them. But if not in that kind of circumstances, I don't think China will be forced into moving for Taiwan. The only way that war will happen is they decided to invade. So I think otherwise, China is very strong. Militarily, they are the strongest military in the region. United States is not here in big numbers, so they aren't. So United States is not the biggest military in the region. China is. They are the most powerful military in the region. So, in fact, in Asia as well, they are much stronger than India. So, it is really up to them. They cannot be threatened into war. It's not a Ukrainian situation for China. Russia, Russia view Ukraine in a totally different way, and if Ukraine join NATO, then basically that will become a Trojan horse for Russia, and Russia decided to act. Taiwan may have this situation if there is a NATO in the region, but there's no kind of alliance like NATO in the region. So the only thing that is tentatively is this. It's going to be a Taiwan independence thing that I don't think will ever happen. So the ball is in China's court, and whether this playing of the fire will ever happen by Japan really depends on whether China will dare to do the blockade and test Japan's resolve. So yeah, that's it. So a lot of rambling by me, but no, this is a this is like a no very irritating issue, because I feel big powers need to act like big powers, but I feel like China doesn't act like a big power. They act like they a lot more like the Baltic states. But the Baltic states with a lot of nuclear weapon and 1 billion people population and the biggest army in Asia and probably the world. But somehow, but the way they act is like Baltic states. And I think that's very, unsightly. I feel like China need to be, more statements like, all these threats and whatnot is like, it doesn't work well. That's not how human behaves. Like, yeah. Anyway, that's psychology. I'm not going to go into it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Happy birthday to you if your birthday today. Press the like button, subscribe. I have no doubts. If there's a war breakout, China will most likely win. Barring United States entering. Once the United States enter, then of course it's a bit hard to say, because it will probably go nuclear very easily. But whatever it is in the military posture, China have the advantage. So there is no cope here. I'm just telling the reality. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update.